G'day YouTube, Max Wright here, and a really fun interview with you today. Today I'm going to be talking to CRYPTO Jebb, who I had the pleasure of meeting on Around the Blockchain. It's a TV show on BitBoy's channel, and we just had a great vibe, bounced back and forth, and I really loved his perspective. I thought I wanted to get him on the channel to have a chat. So Jebb, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to it, Max.
Awesome. So yesterday we had a massive dump. Bitcoin goes all the way down to $30,000. There's panic. Some people, I've actually asked my channel, most of my people are actually excited. It's like buying the dip. And so let me tell you, like, what do you think? I think the big thing that everyone wants to understand is this the end? Are we into crypto winter, or is this just a little pit stop in the middle of the crypto bull run?
Yeah, well, we talked about that on our show this morning. Look, Bitcoin is a cyclical market. Bitcoin goes up and Bitcoin goes down. At the end of the day, the way that I like to think about it is like this. I use the analogy of a controlled burn in a forest to explain to people why Bitcoin needs to go through corrective movements like that. If you look in 2016 and 17 and in the bull market back in that period of time, you saw that every 60 to 90 days or so, Bitcoin would go into as much as a 40% correction before rallying back to and breaking all-time high. I use an analogy to explain what that is. It's like a controlled burn. Every 2, 3, 4 years, the Park Service will have controlled burns in forests to get rid of all the dead underbrush in the forest. Because if you don't do that, then all of that dead underbrush, all the dead trees pile up, and then you have a tinderbox, and just like that, lightning can strike and the whole forest can go up in flames, and it gets out of hand and it can become very dangerous. Well, we've just seen the same thing happen in Bitcoin, where we didn't have any controlled burns. In bull markets, generally speaking, every 60 to 90 days, you'll see some kind of healthy consolidation, some kind of healthy correction that shakes out the weak hands, shows us where our true support is, and allows us to build from there. We stair step up. But in the last 240 days or so, we have not seen that happening. Instead, we've seen Bitcoin just continue to run and run and run, and we've had a couple of corrections, but nothing down to the 20 weekly exponential moving average, nothing down to the 100 or 200 daily simple moving average. We haven't seen any of that. And so now when we see this massive dump, everyone freaks out. But it was kind of expected when Bitcoin hasn't been having its regular corrections that it needed to maintain its health over the last year.
Yeah, fair call. And I think I made a video a couple of months ago, and it was, is this bull market going to look more like 2013 or more like 2017? Mm-hmm. And the reason I made that video was because I think the price of Bitcoin was around $50,000 or $60,000 at the time. It had just got there for the first time, and it had just been this vertical climb. Even getting past the all-time high of $20,000 was just too easy. It just blew past it. It's loitered there for like, I think 2 weeks, and then just blew past 20, went into 24, 30, 34, 50, and it just went. And I was like, hang on a minute, this is too fast. And it reminded me of 2013, because in 2017, breaking that all-time high, there was 2 big pullbacks of around 30%. We got to, I think, 19,000. Sorry, take that back. We got to like just past 1,200 and it pulled back 30%. And then we got to about 1,800, 2,000 and it pulled back 30%. And there were big dips below the all-time high. And this time it just went so fast. It reminded me of back then, which was like, and I got my analogies mixed up there. But in 2013, when it just went parabolic, but from $12 up to $260, and it didn't even hesitate. And then it crashed down 85% in the middle of that year. But from January 1st to December 31st in 2013, it went from $12 to $1,200, or 100x. And in the middle of it, it had an 85% correction. And I thought this, when Bitcoin was just going vertical by March and April, I was like, this looks more like 2013 and 2017. The question had to be asked. And then we had this long sideways consolidation, which kind of made it new. It was unlike 2013 and 2017. We went sideways for a couple of months. But then what we have seen is ultimately we have had this pullback. Look, I don't know if $30,000 was the bottom, but overall, my thinking is this is just a pit stop in the crypto bull run of 2021. Now, there are arguments to say otherwise. I don't want to ignore those arguments and say it's all puppies and rainbows and we've got 100% certainty it's off to the moon from here. It's not. We've had a breakdown of the 21-week moving average. We've had a breakdown of the 200-day moving average. We have certain narratives around it with the environmentalism thing, which I think are mostly refuted by people in the know. But outside people, who knows? We live in a woke culture. Everyone's trying to virtue signal each other to death. And so maybe it's going to hold corporations and institutions back from bringing money into the market. And it could slow down this bull market. What do you think about that?
Yeah, at the end of the day, we needed the correction. We did break those. There are certain trends that the market follows. Generally speaking, you don't see the market fall below the 200 daily simple moving average, or the 21 or the 20 weekly exponential moving average. You typically don't see that during a bull market. I think it makes sense that we've seen it this time, since we went so long without rallies. And to your point, I actually think it also looks a little bit like the 2019 rally from $3,000 to $13,800. Bitcoin rallied and rallied and rallied, and it never paused and never stopped for gas. And then it had to go into some sideways movement. But in this case, I don't know that that's going to happen. I think that $30,000 is the bottom. Theoretically, it could drop lower than that. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it is a pit stop. But I think there's two things that people need to keep in mind moving forward here. Number one, they need to remember why Bitcoin was created in the first place and why it has value in the first place. It was created in the first place to tackle the idea of economic inflationary monetary policy in our world governments. We have this idea that we can print money and go deeper into debt and inflate our currency, and that's how we're going to build our modern economy. But eventually that house of cards is going to get knocked over. Bitcoin was designed to build an economic system that doesn't rely on that. Bitcoin was designed to build an economic system more akin to the gold standard. In this case, you might call it the Bitcoin standard. Great book. Bitcoin was designed to tackle that problem. That's a $100 trillion problem. All global currency markets have that issue. Bitcoin is designed to try and solve that issue. So that's number one. That's where Bitcoin's value comes from. So we need to remember that Bitcoin has a much higher possible value than it is worth right now. But the other thing we have to remember is that there's all kinds of FUD in the market at the moment, and this is not this is something that people in the cryptocurrency space are debating a lot. Is this a concerted effort, or the people behind the scenes pulling strings and saying, "Oh, we're going to attack all this FUD"? Maybe. I don't know. I can't see the whole shadow council. I have no idea. But the point is, there's a lot of FUD in the space right now. We had a massive crash. Elon Musk comes out talking crap about Bitcoin, and then he wants to go and pump up Dogecoin as if it has anything to back it. We have China talking about banning Bitcoin for the 200th time in their history. And we have all kinds of ideas of regulation coming into the cryptocurrency space from the U.S. federal government and other governing agencies around the world, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but is definitely being perceived as a bad thing. There's all kinds of FUD right now. And what I want to encourage both of our viewers to remember is that no matter what the FUD says, it's just for now. All of this FUD about China banning Bitcoin, all of this stuff about Elon Musk, it's going to be forgotten in a year. No one's going to, people are going to look at this and say, oh, that's crypto history. Cool. I remember when I got into the space in 2017, China was banning Bitcoin every other week. I set my watch by it. It's just something that you just kind of got used to. There's a lot of salient FUD at the moment that is just not going to last. So let's not get scared about our long-term prospects in Bitcoin based on short-term FUD, when that FUD doesn't actually change anything at all about the value proposition that Bitcoin really has. So that's my take on it.
No, I think it's a perfectly reasonable argument. I view it as there are all types of forces pushing on Bitcoin, pushing Bitcoin price up, pushing Bitcoin price down. And ultimately, our job as investors and long-term investors is to understand what forces are more powerful.
Yep.
And I think you brilliantly articulated there is a $100 trillion problem in the world right now. The amount of poverty and the wealth disparity that is being caused by central banks is a huge, huge problem. The fact that just normal, ordinary folks, I did a video just the other day, and it was, the comments said it was one of my best videos ever. Of course, it got one of the fewest views I've ever got. So no good deed goes unpunished.
That's how it goes sometimes.
And it was a reply to, because what's his face? Russell Brand started paying attention to Bitcoin just last week. And I was like, hey, Russell, I think you care about wealth inequality. Check this argument out about how Bitcoin solves wealth inequality. Mm-hmm. And it was a very clear chart I showed. The worker used to get the benefit of productivity increases. When technology improved, the productivity of workers improved, and the workers used to get it. Trickle-down economics, if you will, used to work. Until 1971, we come off the gold standard. The world reserve currency now is not fixed to anything. And since that day, the average American worker has not received one iota in the increase in the quality of life and the quality of living as a result of every technological invention since 1971. If you think about it, the internet, the cell phone, everything that's been invented in the last 50 years, the average American worker hasn't benefited from that. And that's all because of central banking. And the experience that they feel is they're trying to save for a house. They're putting away $100 a week into the bank account, saving for a house. The problem is the house is going up so much that they're actually going backwards and getting further away from the goal of saving for a deposit for their house. However, There's not one single person on the planet who has bought Bitcoin, held it for 4 years and lost money.
Yep.
For anybody who is actually trying to save for a house in Bitcoin and have been doing it for more than 4 years, not only did they preserve their wealth and they probably do have the deposit for the house, they probably can buy the house with cash and not get the mortgage at all. And that is the promise that Bitcoin has solved. And when you solve that big a problem, a tweet from this person and something else from that person and some tin pot government, like the Chinese government says they're going to ban Bitcoin when Bitcoin can't be banned, and that's a joke of a statement anyway.
Yep.
You realize all that stuff. That's why Bitcoin just has been marching for 10 years straight and just demolishes all of those arguments. But fear and greed along the way push the price yin and yang. And so right now we're at maybe a bottom, maybe not, but I think probably not. Final thoughts, Jebb.
Yeah, no, I think it's just really important that I use this phrase sometimes because it's alliterative and rhymes. You got to keep your eyes on the prize and your head in the sky, and everything will be just fine. You just got to remember why we're here in the first place, guys. It's really easy to forget the vision when you're caught up in the trading and in the news and in your day-to-day and in waking up and feeding the dog and in watching a movie before you go to sleep. It's really easy to have your eye on today. That is human nature. So don't get me wrong. But what you really need to remember is that Bitcoin is not about today. Bitcoin is about 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now. Bitcoin is a future prospect. It's a future technology that just so happens to live in the now. It is the future right now. And people are so concerned about what Bitcoin is doing now that they forget that the same people did that with the internet in 1995. And the same people did that and said the same thing to Henry Ford in 1912. And they said the same thing about every modern technology when it was 12 years old. Most people forget the internet is over 50 years old if you go back to ARPANET in 1969 when it was first created. Bitcoin is such a young technology, so don't let the FUD take charge of you. Take charge of that FUD, and remember that the people that invest in Bitcoin and hold it for the long run are the people that will be most successful in their investment journey.
Absolutely. And with them printing, as long as they keep printing, Bitcoin's going to keep doing well. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind. So guys, here's what we're going to do. We're actually now going to leap into the second part of this interview, and we're going to go over to Jebb's channel because I would love you guys to go out and check out Jebb's channel. So please follow. The first link in the description is going to be a link to the second part of this interview. In it, we're going to go over to Jebb's channel. We're going to talk about, okay, so what are we going to do about this now? How do we trade it? Is there a way to profit from this? Do we buy? Do we sell? And also, what are we buying in? Are we buying in Bitcoin? Are we buying in altcoins? Where's the action? We're going to talk about that right now. So go ahead, smash up that like button, subscribe to this channel, and please let me know in the comments below if you agree. Is the crypto bull market still going, or is this the end of it and we are into crypto winter? Go ahead and do that, and then hit that link in the description. Head over to Jebb's channel. We'll see you there. Okay, guys, take care. Bye.